So we're recording, everybody, and we'll send out a link and make it available to everyone. We'll add it to YouTube. This is a nice set group. So if anyone wants to jump in or ask questions, feel free to just jump in with your questions. I'm going to also add a link to a LinkedIn group for anyone who is on LinkedIn. This is a group of the DIPs, or diversity and inclusion pros, who are certified in what we call diversity and inclusion service management for the ISO-30415 standard. There are people in there globally, and so it's a nice group to get to know, bounce ideas off of, etc. You know, while you're in the course or after the course, etc. So with that said, I'm going to share screen and go over the syllabus. So again, this course is, or this session is more about the structure of the course, how to pass the course, any questions that people might have about previous courses, etc. So here I'm going to, with that said, start sharing screen now. If you're not familiar with me, if we haven't met yet, my name's James Felton Keith. I'm CEO at Inclusion Corporation, or Inclusion Score Inc. We are a certifying body in DISM for ISO 30415. I know that's a lot of acronyms or a lot of letters. But what you should see on your screen here is the general outline of the course. It's a 4-week course. It, on average, when we survey the hundreds of previous cohort members, wherever they might be in the world, we see on average, people spend about 2.3 hours per week on the course material. I believe the majority of that time is spent taking the recorded sessions of the class. So there's about an hour broken up into individual pieces over the course of each week. It's just different lectures from myself in conversation with also Ephanis Henderson, who you see here, and Dawn Bennett Alexander. These were some of the earliest conveners and the lead conveners of the ISO 30415 standard, which, if you're not familiar, has been adopted across 163 countries via the International Organization for Standards in Geneva. But obviously they engage and carry weight everywhere. So there's about an hour of that each week, and we'll go through what those weeks look like. And then there's another hour of live session each week with Zimkita and myself, who I think most of you know either one of us or both of us, or have had some conversation with us. And so in those live sessions, we try to encourage everyone to be present for those live sessions, which is why we've broken out this course from the English-speaking course in America or the French-speaking course in France. It's because of the difference in time zone. And we find that people benefit the most from this course when they're sharing the problems that they see inside of their organizations or the organizations that they consult with. And so we want to work through these problems during the course. And so that's the second hour. Sometimes I think that the 2.3 hour average that we see are maybe people are spending a few minutes reviewing course materials or reading, or they're online, or they're engaging in chat groups. We have a pretty lively chat group during each cohort as the different cohort members are discussing the course material and the standard and how it would be applied, right? And so again, in these 4 weeks, and everyone should have access to the syllabus. If not, please email us, or we will email the group after a copy of the syllabus, a copy of the general course overview, and some other choice links. But during the course, or during each week, we will really discuss and refine how a professional can audit a company in the ISO standard. Right, that's the real objective of this course. So I know that there are a lot of trainings, everywhere across the globe about what diversity and inclusion is, or what diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, accessibility, and justice are. And all of those letters are important, but I say D and I a lot. My accent will sound like DN, but I'm saying D and I when I'm speaking fast, because it saves me time. But I mean diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and accessibility and justice, even though I think accessibility is a piece of belonging and justice is a piece of the equity piece. But as the alphabet soup scales, we will acknowledge all those letters, but per the International Organization for Standards, we are going to go over how to audit. So again, the difference between other courses and this one, is that this course is more about how to implement DNI, not necessarily what it is. Oh, sorry, can we have everybody mute unless you're asking a question? Thank you. So again, and just to point out one critical thing, the ISO acknowledges this as a diversity and inclusion standard, but again, they mean DEI and B, or as the alphabet soup grows, they mean DEI, B, A, and J. This is not a human resources standard, right? Even though the human resources focus group at the International Organization for Standards was where this standard was born out of, and it took about 10 years from 2010 to 2021 to craft. It is a D&I standard, and it's a methodology to implement corporate change management at any organization you deal with, whether it's a government, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a large corporation or a small corporation. This standard is applicable. Again, and so what we're going to focus on is the individual pieces of the standard and how we leverage them for change management and risk management across any organization that you might engage. And so the first week, and again, I'll send out a link with this syllabus, but the first week, if no one can see this, let me know and I can zoom in. But the first week, we're going to focus on just what the standard is and the 32 domains of the standard, sort of how they work and the difference between them and what most people assume diversity and inclusion looks like. And if you're not fully familiar, we talk about this a lot on our website at /DISM. Oh, I guess that didn't work. All right. I think we're having some technical issues because we just changed our website domain name, but just to give you some color, I know some of you have heard pieces of this conversation before. I think what everyone is doing right now in their companies is one of these 4 project types. And it's all good, like those are good things to do. But these 4 project types consist of training people to know something that they don't know. Data extraction, things like demographic data, sentiment analysis are examples of that. Internal infrastructure, that's things like building employee resource groups or business resource groups or advisory boards. And external infrastructure, examples of those are like joining chambers of commerce, right? Or trade associations or focus groups that focus on disenfranchised populations. And those disenfranchised populations, the ISO standard breaks out into 27 groups. So it may be gender-based, it may be racial-based, it may be disability-based, based or neurodivergence based. It could be a lot of different things, right? These 27 groups are of particular interest, not because we're saying that diversity isn't a fact of reality and there aren't billions of types of diversity out there, but it's really because these 27 types are protected classes under the law in at least one or more countries. And these 27 groups are who we usually see in legal dockets or grievances in the Human Resources Department. And they are creating the economic climate that is starting to financialize organizational diversity and inclusion. And so we want to see these 4 or more project types across one or many of these 27 people types deployed across these 32 domains of D&I. And so these 32 domains, which is where we'll focus in the second week, are functional parts of your organization. So they're not diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, or they're not different races or genders or ages. They're really about the functional parts of your organization, and they focus on corporate governance. These are policies that your executives make. Corporate HR obviously is there, right? These are policies that we make around the employees that we deal with, but also product delivery, whether our product is a service or something tangible, right? Whether we work for a mining company or whether we work for a bank, same thing. And last but not least, our supply chain or supplier diversity. Who are the companies that are supplying goods and services to us? Who are they owned by? Are they women owned? Are they Black owned? Are they, Indian, or, are they disabled owned? These sorts of things matter to the broader economy. And so what the standard is asking for, and what we will discuss in week 2, is we'll talk about the maturity level of different companies' engagement of corporate diversity and inclusion. And when we look at maturity level, what we're really looking for is sort of the magic word in corporate D&I is intentionality. But intentionality in the real world looks like a policy. It's a document that's intentional, right? And so it outlines what we plan to do. And on day 1, at many organizations, we'll get it wrong, but we have to have a starting place. And so as we train this course and its participants in the auditing process, what they're really looking for is tangible, intentional documentation across the 32 domains that include and encompass one or many of the 27 people types and the 4 project types. And as we look at corporations grow, which we will talk about in week 3, is we'll explore how organizations deal with the change management, how they manage policies, how they assign responsibilities. And during this whole time, we're going to audit a real company. We're going to audit documents from a company that we've dealt with in the past. They're a large multinational company with 50,000 employees. And when we have our live sessions with Zimkita and myself, we're going to break out into smaller groups and discuss what we really think about these policies, how we would audit them, what grade we would give them on a scale of 0 to 3 or 1 through 4. And when we come back in the group, we'll ask very specific questions about how you think about these documents, and then we'll discuss the answers. So that's how the focus of the course will go. And the 4th week, we'll have a very narrow focus on supplier diversity and how big companies engage small companies. And the only grade that you'll get in the course is the grade on the final exam. So the final exam is an open book exam. We'll give you a manual, a booklet, and a spreadsheet with the standard broken out into little pieces that you can manipulate and use in real time, day 1, as you go back to work, wherever you work. And as you use that information, it'll all be relevant to the final exam. So the final exam is 20 questions. There'll be a weekly quiz of 5 questions that does not count for a grade. But the final exam does count. It's the only grade that counts. And I promise you, it's not intimidating. Once you go through the 4 weeks, you'll go, okay, I know the answer to the majority of all these questions. And to pass the course and receive the certificate, all we ask is that you complete the exam. You have multiple opportunities to try, but with a 70% or more, and you answer the course questionnaire at the end of the course, so that we can have a good idea of your experience and what we can do to make it better. We're trying to modify and make this course very specific to the South African climate. So different legal trends that we see, different laws that we see, and different corporate realities that we see, and how one might implement the ISO standard, for instance, in tandem with BEE initiatives, and again, also certain legal trends, you name it. So we'll explore a lot of that in the live sessions, but that is the course in a nutshell. So are there any questions on, I guess, let me switch screens to, yeah, I'll keep it on this screen. So are there any questions about the makeup of the course and what everyone can expect? All right. So yeah, I mean, hopefully we've answered everything. I guess questions that we normally get are about if people miss classes. Again, if you absolutely have to miss a class, whether it's via load shedding or anything like that, just send us an email. Like it's fine. We'll record everything, and so everything will be available on the course website, the registration site. There'll be a backside to that site where you can see every recorded session. So for instance, if you are in Australia and you can't make certain courses, certain live sessions, again, we'll have a weekly live session for at this time of day, for 1 hour. If you can't make that, send us an email, but again, we will record the live session and send it to you. And again, the focus of the course is very narrow. It's specific to when everyone leaves, they should be able to audit a company in the standard and help that company make decisions about what it should do next. Right. And so everyone that we've dealt with across the globe, whether they've been in South Africa, or Germany, or Australia, or the UK, or the US, or Mexico, or Chile, or Brazil, they're mainly coming to figure out how to implement this at their company. And that is our objective. And we want to, over time, hear more feedback. I see one hand up. Feel free to unmute. But over time, we want to, feedback on what you're experiencing in your market and in your companies, so that we can grow the standard to accommodate what's actually happening. But yeah, I see one hand up or two hands up. Feel free, or just jump in. Yeah.
First. Thanks, James. It's Tutula. I just wanted to ask around the Wednesday discussion classes. So every Wednesday of the 4 weeks we will meet. What time is that? It's always at the same time, one. And two, the quizzes, are those sort of automated? So I think you said 5 questions per week, and it's not graded, but does it give you an indication that you really flunked this week, so that, or whatever the case is, where level of effort is. And then you said something about the exam, the 20 questions, you can do it so you can retry. So if you didn't get 70%, you could retry again. Did I hear that right? Okay.
Yeah. So yes, yes, for the multiple tries. Yeah. What was the second one? Is also yes, the quizzes will let you know what you got right and wrong. We just call it a knowledge check, and so we'll ask the questions for the quiz during the live session, but they're also on the on the platform on the back end of the class. So you can take them alone, or you can take them during the live session if you're not in the live session. And for the middle question, sorry, I'm jumping around, my brain doesn't work. The middle question was, well, oh yes, it's the same time. For the live sessions, it's the same time every day, every week. And again, if people can't make it, it'll be recorded for them. But I will say, in our experience, the live sessions are, at least the feedback we get is that they're the most valuable piece, because people are meeting, their cohort members from other companies, and they're sharing ideas, and they're seeing how other people think about this. Diversity and inclusion from a standardization standpoint is very new. And a lot of people come to this work with different perspectives, right? So you have HR people, you have procurement people, you have big company people, you have consultant people, you have lawyers. Everyone's looking at this from a different lens, because diversity and inclusion sort of covers every type of organization, no matter what it does. If you have people, this matters, right? And so we've got feedback that people grow a lot by meeting other people from different corporate backgrounds in the live sessions. So we think that they're very valuable, but you could certainly learn everything you need to learn from an auditing standpoint from the recorded sessions and from the automated work on your own. I see Bridget.
Thanks for that, James and Tutula. Just a quick clarification also on my side. Will the case studies be particularly aligned to any areas of probably our sectors, or they're just vast? Just asking particularly because I don't know any other members that come from a different sector, either the NPOs or corporate specifically, or government and so forth. So that would also feed into Tutula's question with regards to how we filter in the information, because I think what is relative and known for information processing would be very closely aligned to our operating context. So yeah, that was just my question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the case study, we tried to pick the largest company we could. We had to redact a lot of their signifying information off of the documents, but we tried to pick a large multinational company. I can say it is a big insurance company. We focus on that industry because those companies touch every other type of company. And the case study is really just designed for the members in the course to think about, when they read those documents, what score they would give them on the audit, right? But so each week, the questions that we ask are strategically designed. At this point, we have a really good idea of how people will respond to each question, because we've just seen it happen over and over again for, at this point, this is the third year. And the whole point of the case study is not necessarily to burrow down into one industry, but to change your thinking about how you would score maturity of a policy from any company. Again, whether it's a local government, a federal government, a large for-profit corporation, a company that trades on the JSC, or some small company, with 30 employees that wants to do, better. So the structure of the case study is really around the individuals in the course's ability to understand how to score a maturity model. So what we're really teaching in the course, outside of the structure of the standard, is something called capability maturity models. In corporate change management or business service management, like in the technology space, we see this a lot. We see a methodology called IT service management. But really, in any soft skill corporate environment, the way we quantify qualitative initiatives is we rate their maturity. And the way you rate maturity is we look at if there's a policy first, that's a level 1. Level 2 is we look at if there are responsible parties, is someone responsible for this. And then level 3, we look at if the responsible parties are specific to a role or a person. A person is always bad because that person can leave, right? Well-intentioned people around D&I always fail in the face of a bad process, always. And so the question, the third level of maturity is it a role-specific responsibility, and is there a designed-in interval of reevaluation of that policy? Right, so is the policy a living document? Is it dynamic or is it static? If it just sits there, we can't use it, right? Or we can use it, but it's less mature, right? And so what we want companies with the ISO and the broader global team that came together wants to see is that companies are actively vetting and changing their D&I capability, their ability to distribute those 4 project types, their ability to engage their employees, and to even pacify disgruntled employees want to destroy the company, right? We're trying to make a capitalistic incentive for these institutions to include more people in the decision-making of those institutions. That's the real objective. And so there's an old method that, again, everyone can Google called, if you just Google CMMI, that's really what we focus on in the 2nd and 3rd week. And so it's the majority of the case study. The case study is really about trying to understand if this company has a level of maturity or not. And we like to hear everyone's response during the live sessions so that we can ask each other, what works and what doesn't work. I'm going to put this link in the chat box. But yeah, so hopefully that answers the question, Bridget. Let me know. But so yeah, the case study is designed around a really large company, and we use that to vet their maturity. Any other questions? All right. So yeah, we hope to see you all on on June 4th. Do join the LinkedIn group. Let me find. I think you'll find some of the folks in that group. I know that everyone is not on LinkedIn, but I think you'll find the people in that group really interesting wherever they are on the planet. And yeah, no, we look forward to seeing everyone in the course. I see Tatula has another question. Yep. And I'm pronouncing that right?
That's right.
Am I messing
Yes,
up your name?
Tutula.
Oh, okay.
Tutula, I think with the number 2, Tutula. Yeah. Do we have the syllabus? Maybe I missed it. I'm sure I have. We are swamped.
If you don't, I'm going to throw it in an email right after this. Both of these documents, both the syllabus and this other document, I'm going to throw both of those in email with some links, and you'll have it, right after this. But yeah, and I think this should be an interesting, diverse course. I know there's some people who are not in the info session, but are joining from large companies, so it'll be interesting to see that interaction. I know there's some NBI people here, but there's some Ford people and some other people who I think there'll be some interesting back and forth between on how they might seek to implement this. And so yeah, this will be fun. At the end of the day, I don't want to make it seem like too serious and crazy, but this will just be what we find from people who've taken the course is that it's fun. It's fun. I'll crack a bunch of jokes and say a bunch of crazy things about politics that we normally don't say at work. But we'll relate those to the reasons that we are seeing that are starting to drive corporate diversity and inclusion. So, yeah. Oh yeah, right. For Zimkeitha, yeah, right. So the registrations are open for the first cohort. So this is the registration link. Now, depending on where you are, the registration should convert to rands versus dollars, or pounds, depending on where you're at. Also, the Zimkeitha has a code for anyone who was a part of this, a discount code for anyone who was a part of this info session. So yeah, so the platform that we're producing this on, it guides you through each step. It'll make more steps available each week as you go through the course. So yeah, feel free to register now. I think we're starting in a few weeks, and we want that by the end of the summer, that we've started to really make a real dent and have a real footprint in South Africa, and so that as we move forward, we have subject matter experts to point to as companies email us and ask us more questions about who they should engage in the country. That's our real objective. If we can get 5,000 people trained in South Africa, I think it'll create a real sea change in how we include people in the economy in South Africa, and that's the real mission at the end of the day. So thank you, everybody. I'll stop sharing, but I'll stay on for just a little bit, and just in case anyone has extra questions. Any at all. It doesn't, even if they're not about the standard, even if they're about how we've used it in different places previously, just let us know. All right.
Seems like they are maybe shy. Buyelwa, hi, how are you? And I see Tando. How are you
I talked to
guys?
them yesterday. Yeah.
Do you have any questions for us? I know
No
Buyelwa and Tando are more consultants within the diversity and inclusion space. I'm not sure about Temba. But yeah, guys, feel free to ask any questions.
I'm gonna take that as we did a great job, and we covered all of the bases. So okay, good. We got some hands clapping there. So yeah, so we look forward to seeing everybody. And again, our emails are open. I don't go to sleep. I'm up 24 hours a day. So is our team, the rest of the team. Obviously, Zimkeitha's on your same time zone, but Karina and Karen and everybody else, we do this all day. I have a similar thing in Western Europe in 1 hour. So we're trying to make sure the whole world uses this standard. So that's the work. But I'm here. We'll talk soon. I'm going to stop recording.